Okay, y'all, we're going to finish up this maybe like 4 parts I've done on this idea of what memory is so I can clean it up for anybody that is still in their head. Memory and your brain. See, your brain doesn't hold memory, your body does. Your brain, you can open up your skull and probe and poke at it, and you won't feel anything. And if you can't feel anything in there, and it doesn't really exist. It's a processing station. There's nothing going on in there. It's a processing station. This is why massage is so helpful. This is why we touch things. This is why we have a 5-sense physical reality. Our senses, we sense reality. We sense everything. We sense water and we sense light. We sense our memories. The brain is not where it's at. The brain that we do what we think as thinking, what we have this idea that we're thinking, where is it coming from? Where are these ideas coming from? Are they coming from language that we're hearing from others? Is it coming from inside of us? Is it coming from a more primary source? I like this quote by Terence McKenna. Half the time you think you're thinking, you're actually listening. And then I have to ask the obvious next question. What are you listening to? Are you listening to memories of the past? Are you listening to thoughts that you think you have about things that have occurred? Are you magnetically attracted to some idea of the future? These are very important, but surely we can see that within our body. You can look into trigger point therapy. You can look at your foot and you see something wrong with it because you cut it when you were younger. You can see these scars. You can feel something inside of your body. You can feel your body. And those are all points of memory. Whether it is looked at as a scar on the outside or is it something that you feel, because that connection to feeling, meaning your senses, is part of your memory. So the 3 ideas of matter and our feelings, our imagination, what I've spoke about, and again, if this is the first video that you're watching, I've done 2 more in the past couple days that deal with memory and learning, and we have to come to this base point of thinking about what memory is, what imagination is, what creation is, and literally how we learn, and we need to rewire that because our learning doesn't occur in our brain. It doesn't occur in this systematic, this processes that we perceive as some linear fashion of a construct. This linear fashion of this equals that, so that equals this. This materialist time frame from now until 10 minutes from now, that this mechanical universe works in a way it does because it just doesn't work that way. You've been trained in your brain to act like automatons and robots, that this means this and that means that. And it has gotten rid of the humanness, meaning that there are no feelings in the brain, there are feelings in the body. Your body, your temple that you're housed in. So what you think about anything doesn't matter. What your emotions are don't matter. What you're feeling and your senses are. What your senses tell you, the 5 of them that you're told that you have, although there's probably quite a bit more. If you get into the Egyptians, they believe there was 360, and others believe there's different amount of senses. A lot of popular theories now have about 10 senses. But nonetheless, this idea of learning, our capacity, our ability to learn, store memory, make new decisions, new tools, new ideas, new frameworks, it all comes out of our body, our body's intelligence. Our physical, this is why the physical is important, but let's not get too caught up in a mechanical version of the universe. Let's look at physicality as that, physicality in the moment, and holding on to stored memory systems. This is why you can trigger things in the body. You can program things into certain points of the body. You have points of pain. You have points of pleasure. Why else would you like to touch things? Why do you like to play with a dog? Why do you like to make love? Why do you like to be outside and touch the ground? Why do you like to do anything? Well, we've all been cut off from that, and now we stare at something and we think about things, and we think that we think about things. And how do we think about that? And and people say, how do you feel about that? And then we've confused it, and people go, oh, I feel this way. And they've lost the language. They've been hoodwinked. They've been confused because they don't feel that way. They have an emotion about it. They have emotion about things, meaning it's attachment to the past or the future. Their feeling would be in the current state of something. And then, as the body is a holder, a containment vessel for memory and information, meaning it holds water and it holds light in certain positions. If you go into your body and you push on a point, you could release that information, and that pain and that memory goes away. Or you could touch a body in a certain way and pleasure comes out of it. Either way, that feeling in that moment is what is the truth. And to unlock and unleash feelings of goodness or getting rid of feelings of pain can happen through the memory system, which is in the body. Movement patterns. This is why the ideas of what people think yoga is important. This is why touch is so important. This is why looking at like color therapy, because that's a sense. You sense the color. This is why music therapy is good. And I don't like to get in the words therapy, but it's just living, participating in your senses, looking at things, hearing things, smelling things, touching things. That's why you have a body, to have that experience and to hold that memory. And the containment vessel beyond the body is the spirit body, the light body. It's not held in the mind. If it was held in the mind, then this would be the philosophy of most atheists and most people that think when the lights are off, it's off, that it just goes away. Then this experience means nothing, memory means nothing, and you have to go down a very dark corridor of thought processes. But again, those thought processes are occurring in someone's mind through the instruction and institutionalization of the mind and the concepts that they have, that there's some linear fashion to the universe, and that it's stored within the brain, an organ that has no senses in and of itself, but it's just a processing plant. And so this goes into why we need to clean out the brain and clean everything out in the body and get rid of stored up charges and toxins and salts and heavy metals, soft metals, whatever you want to call them, these things that are not serving a purpose but getting in the way of experience actual memory, water and light, and putting those things in your body. If you put water and light in your body, they're both fluid, they're both waves, they both move, they both have part of the joy of life. But the stagnant waters of most people's brains, where they think they're thinking, staring at something, and they're considering, whose thoughts are those? And those waters in the brain are all polluted. If you believe in gravity, or even if you believe in density and buoyancy, as it's more almost certainly the body, as you're standing there on your feet, if you believe in gravity, then it's sucking everything out of your brain, so you're dehydrated in the brain. So if you have stagnant waters, filthy waters, and maybe even no water in your brain, I wonder why people's consciousness would be geared into some record, meaning that there's no movement, there's no patterning there's no new patterning, there's no new light and new water. So it's just these stationary salts, stationary pieces of metal, stationary thought processes that have been programmed into the brain, not only from a psychological level, but actually from a physical level of what's occurring in the brain. So these short circuits happen, and these even longer circuits happen that have been just pre-wired by the people that wanted them there to work, so you'd work within a system. So it's getting rid of those things, cleansing your body, and accessing and accepting what memory actually is, and it has something completely to do with the temple that you live in. Why else would you be in this skin suit filled with water? How much water should be in your body? I would even assume that most people are probably very confused and even told through science that there should be less water in their body than there should be, or less water in their brain than there should be. You're a being made of the four elements, and the biggest one should be that water. And if we really even break that down, that water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. So there's obviously oxygen in you. So maybe you should consider the oxygen and the water that you're getting. So these things are extremely important to what your memory is, your body being a fluid system. And as I've spoke about many times before, if we change the direction that we think of things, if we change how we consider the body, instead of thinking of it in the three as a mechanical system first, if we stop right there and look at it first as an electrical system and then a fluidium system, and then the mechanical system, meaning the skeletal body. If we think of how does this electrical system work, and then we bind that with, well, we need to have a liquid system so this electrical system works. We need to have that water so we can put an arc of energy within the body, a fluid source so we don't burn things out. Liquid cooled system. Now we reframe the way that we live and experience the world and what we think memory is and where it's held and what the brain's purpose is. Clean out the brain and the processing center changes. Rehydrate your brain, clean the fluids in your body, and your system works differently. Understand that the body and your five senses are your memory. Your five senses are that's how you experience the world. That's all there is to it. You have to become more in tune with what your body is. As a sensing temple, a moving, water-filled sensing temple of everything that occurs in reality. And that's where your memory is. That's how you create memory. And create more memory through movement of water and light, movement patterns. You don't create memory through stagnation of the same thought, stagnation of the same movement, same position. You get nothing new out of it. So get rid of the things that you think are your thoughts. Don't attach yourself to them. And there's easy ways to do it. It's not just going into meditation practices, because that doesn't work for people. If it did, everybody's listened to that. Everybody's tried it. It's difficult to do. Why? Because you already have too many physical objects obstructing your system. Remove the physical constraints in your system, in your mind, and in your body, and you start to loosen up, get rid of old ideas, old literal neurological, old literal connections between salts in your body that used to be firing in a certain way and short-circuiting your system. Get rid of those things. Clean your body out. Flush it all out. And then see how your thinking is. See how your processes is. See the way that your mind appears to look at things. Because if your mind doesn't have things in it as preconceived notions anymore, as physical objects and blocks, then you perceive reality different. Those thoughts that you used to have, they vanish. Because they weren't yours anyways. And then you look at things with bright, clean eyes from a new perspective. And then the brain is used as it should be, as just a processing plant for whatever information is coming to it at that moment. Within the physical matrix of your five senses. Collect those five senses in the moment. Collect those five senses as an experience within that present moment. And there's your memory. Then put that through the brain. Then see what you see. And then as we get into everything else, that the reason for doing this is to have a better experience and to plan out a future. Then when you have a clean slate to be able to, what kind of experience would you like to have? Then you can start creating through magic and start creating a universe that you'd like to have. Because you're not tied to, you're not hinged to, you're not anchored to things and ideas that aren't yours. And you as an infinite being can create anything that you'd like. So I hope this cleared up a lot of things for everybody. Have a beautiful day. We'll chat soon.